today's presentation is going to be about cover letters, okay? And as I said just a few moments ago, it's a continuation from the resume class of last week, okay? The reason why we're continuing into cover letters is because when you submit an application for a job, whether it be online or you're handing in your application, you should likely include your cover letter as well, okay? So you'll be submitting your resume and your cover letter probably in the same email or same documents, okay? And so this is why we're continuing with this. So you can consider this part 2, all right? The purpose of a cover letter, all right? So what is it? What is it for? Why do we create them? What's the difference between a cover letter and a resume, both physically and objectively? What is the point, okay? So the purpose of a cover letter is to firstly, introduce yourself, okay? You're gonna include things like your contact information, your name, who you are, right? And later on, your skills and all that stuff, okay? So that's the first part. You want to introduce yourself. It's a letter, okay? Consider writing a letter to a loved one or family member, right? By hand, okay? It's got the letter format. It's very similar to that, right? You have perhaps the address that you're sending this to the person you're sending it to, the name, right? And then your story or whatever you're including in your letter. It's no different than that. It's just, it's a letter that explains your background and your skills, both educationally and professionally, all right? So it's called a cover letter, and the letter portion of that is because it resembles a handwritten letter that you would send off in the mail. You also want to mention the job, okay, or the type of job you're applying for or looking for, okay? Next, you're going to show that your skills and experience match those of the job advertisement, all right? You're going to encourage, the purpose again is to encourage the reader to read your resume and all of these other things. And at the end, you also want it to finish with a call to action, okay? And a call to action, I'll get more into explaining that later on, but quickly, a call to action is you're asking an employer or a hiring manager to action your application, okay? And what that means is that you're asking them for an interview, you're asking them to perhaps give you a call or to contact you or to review your resume or send you an email if they have any questions about your application, right? That's an action. They're actioning your request. So you always want to make sure that you're finishing with that. And that's essentially the purpose of a cover letter, all right? General questions that people might ask are, how long should a cover letter be, all right? And just so you know, I will have examples of a cover letter and I will break it down for you into pieces, so you'll get to see exactly what I'm talking about and see examples for yourself. But a cover letter should be kept short. It's meant to be a summary of your resume, and your resume is already a summary of your work experience. So it shouldn't be very long. It should just be used as a method to explain what your resume is trying to share, but in a story format, okay? Instead of bullet points, like you would see here on this PowerPoint, instead of these small bullet points, you can elaborate on your background and your skills. And that's what a cover letter is supposed to be, right? So instead of looking at it like a chore or something that is another document and not necessarily a waste of time, but something that's time consuming, okay? It should be seen as a way to further explain all the things you weren't able to fit in on your resume, okay? To elaborate on these things. Saying something like, I worked 10 years in IT, that's great. That's something you'd see on a resume, but it doesn't really give the big picture, okay? So a cover letter really helps you explain those things. And the final point is that it shouldn't be longer than 1 page, okay? Absolutely no longer than 1 page. So try to keep it short, brief, but use it to expand on a few things you want to say. next thing is matching your cover letter to the job. So you'll want to use a different cover letter for every job you apply for, all right? Very similar to a resume. If you can't have one example or one generic format for a cover letter that you send everywhere. It doesn't work like that. Why? Because the job is different, first of all, and you're addressing the specific job. The person you're sending it to is different. The date is different, right? There are so many things that you need to change, okay? So you can have pieces of a cover letter that are the same, but you must change them for every job application, okay? Mainly because if I'm applying for, give me 1 second. If I'm applying for a job and I have it dated for a month ago because I applied for another job a month ago, obviously that will not look good. So make sure to change and update your cover letter for the job that you're applying for specifically. I'll share here with you next 2 ways to help with sharing your qualities and your skills, okay, and how to match them to the job or the organization or company that you're applying for. First of all, one of the main things you need to do is find out who to address it to, okay? When we're talking about customizing a cover letter to a specific job advertisement, you need to find out who to address it to, okay? And that just requires a bit of effort on your part or a bit of research. But the point is, you do not want to address your letter to whom it may concern, okay? That is viewed as lazy because you're just addressing it to somebody, not someone specifically, but somebody, okay? Whoever takes the time to read this, this is who it's addressed to. And that's just, it's not professional, okay? So most of the time, you will find the name of the person, the hiring manager, or the HR personnel who you're supposed to contact in the job application. Okay, it should be written there. If you're applying for an administrative position at the Multicultural Association, it should share the information of the person you're supposed to apply to. Okay, if it doesn't, that's when it takes a bit of effort on your part to find that information. Okay, first thing I would do if I were you is I would go on the internet and I would search for the company. Okay, so if the company we're talking about is the Multicultural Association, I would go to the Multicultural Association's website and try to find who the HR person is or who a hiring manager is, all right? And then you can address it to that person. If you are completely unable to find the name by doing a research online, your next step is to call, okay? Call the employer or call the advertiser. Ask them if they can share with you the name of the person you should be addressing your application to, okay? Doing a bit of effort, doing a bit of work shows a lot of effort on your part and will give a good indication that you're a hard worker and that you're really interested in the job, okay, if you do these things. All right, so don't put to Mr. or Mrs. Blank or to whom it may concern or dear, and then don't put anything. That's just unprofessional. Take some time to find the person's name, okay? And at the bottom here, you'll see the last point. Don't use the first name, okay? So my first name is Scott. If you were sending me a job application, you would not say, "Hi, Scott," or "Hello, Scott." You would say, "Hello, Mr. Pettigrew," which is my last name, okay? If you've talked to them before, then you can include their first name. That's no problem. But when you're first making a connection with somebody, use their Mr. or Mrs. and their last name, okay? The second point, helpful point, is find out more about the job, okay? So when you're doing a bit of research, if you have to, on a person's contact information or their name, okay, that you're applying to, the name of the person you're applying to, it could also be a good idea to take that time to ask questions or to research some stuff about the company, okay? do it at the same time. You're already there, you're already calling them, or you're already on the website. So take the time to do a bit more research, and it'll only help you in the job application, okay? If you're on the phone with them, asking them for the contact information of the person you're applying to, it could be your first question, but then you might want to ask other ones that can help you, right? Like, does the job involve working as part of a team? Right? Asking a simple question like that, you could get an answer either yes or no. But if you get the answer yes, then you know you can customize your resume a little bit better. They just told you that you need to be able to work as part of a team. You asked them, they said it was important. So now you have a bit of information that you can use to give that extra touch to your resume, right? If they say no, that's fine. You know that that's not something you have to work on or work towards or add to your resume. Another question, these are just examples, by the way. Can you tell me more about the kind of person you're looking for? If you ask that, that is a very open, loaded question, right? But you might just find that the employer or the advertiser will share some really, really important details. Like, oh, the person I'm looking for needs to be able to speak 2 languages, English and French. Or the person I'm looking for really needs to be extremely well organized. Well, if they share that information, that's free information. You're ahead, you have an advantage over other applicants who don't know that because they haven't heard it from the employer themselves, right? So doing a bit of research can really help you and can really help you customize your resume and your cover letter. While you're asking these questions, if you do, it's not absolutely necessary. I'm just suggesting that it could help you. If you do these things, make sure to write down the answers as you're talking to them, okay? If they give you an answer, write it down so that you can reference it later and maybe use it to your benefit when you're creating your resume or cover letter later. So here's what to include in your cover letter, okay? And just so you know, this is the portion that I'm going to break down all of these things for you, okay? And give you examples so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about and not just hear my voice explain them. So what you include in your cover letter, the first thing you'll want to include is your contact information and their contact information, okay? After that, you're going to want to include somewhere the title of the job you're applying for. Okay, this is really important because maybe the company you're applying for has many different positions open, okay? And if you're just applying to the manager and you don't tell them what job you're interested in, they won't be able to read your mind, and they probably won't even bother looking at your application because they don't know what you're applying for. So have the title of the job you're applying for somewhere. Then you have a list of your relevant skills. This is included in the body of the cover letter, okay? And the body is really where the story writing happens. That's the largest part or the largest bulk of the cover letter. After that, you have a summary of why you're the right person for the job, okay? And then we're going back to what I said earlier. At the end, you want to ask for a call of action, okay? And your outro. And the call of action, again, I'll go over in a little bit. I'll go over all these in detail here, okay? So first part, remember, is your name and their contact information as well as yours, okay? Put your name and contact details at the top of your cover letter. You don't have to give your postal address, so you don't have to give your postal code or your home address, but you do need to include your email and phone number, all right? That's why we call it contact information. They need to be able to contact you, and you need to offer that to them so that they know where to reach you if they are interested in hiring you. Under your name and contact details, you should include the name of the person you're writing to, the position or the name of their company, and their contact details, okay? At the bottom, you can use to whom it may concern, but it is only to be used as a last resort, okay? A last resort means that if you have to do absolutely everything you can to avoid doing this. If you absolutely have to, you can, okay? So If you can't find their name, do some research, call the company. If at the end of all that, you still don't have a contact person, then you can write to whom it may concern, all right? Here's your example. So you'll see at the top right, I have my name, my phone number, and my email address. Okay, now this is just an example. I've used the Multicultural Association of Fredericton as an example here, just because I know what I should be putting. Okay, I know our HR director, but this will be a good example for you guys to use. So at the top right, I have my name, I have my contact information, and the bottom left, I have the contact information of the person I am applying to. Okay, in this case, it's Mrs. Ralcheva, Nicole Ralcheva. She is our HR director at the Multicultural Association of Fredericton. I have the company, the phone number, okay, her role, and her email address. All right. So think of it this way. If you were sending a letter in the mail to somebody, you would have to find that person's contact information, right? You'd have to find their address, or the mailman is just never going to be able to deliver it. This is the same idea. It follows that structure. You have to have their information because you're sending it to a specific person. I'll just leave this here for another second just so you can take a look. Again, these are examples. I suggest you look at cover letter templates, but when you're looking at cover letter templates, make sure that they include all of this. If they don't include these things, they're not good templates, okay? Misha has asked, do we always need to include a cover letter with your resume? I will get to that in a moment. I've got a good thing coming up, so yes, I will answer that. Thank you. The name of the job you're applying for, okay, is the next thing you should include. So at the start of your cover letter, obviously you are including your contact information, their contact information, but then just below that, whether it's on a line by itself or in the opening sentence or paragraph, you should mention which job you're applying for, okay? So for this example, I've used the digital communications officer, and I will show you examples of both ways that it's acceptable to do this. So here it says, 19 May 2020 is the date. Good morning, Mrs. Alcheva. I'm writing to you today to express my interest in the digital communications officer position, right? Perfect, that's good. Now the person, the reader, knows what you're applying for, all right? They know what you're messaging them for. It should also be included in the title as well, but make sure you're mentioning it here. All right, if you want to create a different type of paragraph, you don't want to start your paragraph like this, you can also do this, all right? So remember information, your information, their information, and then you could put something before you start your letter, all right, that says application for trainee administrative assistant position or digital communications officer in bold, okay? You can have its own separate line. This is also acceptable. All right, I'll show you again here real quick. All right, there and there, both are acceptable. Yeah. All right, next is a list of your relevant skills. Now, like I said before, this is the body of your letter, okay? It's going to be the longest piece. It's where you're explaining who you are. The rest of it is just an introduction. Now you're getting to the important part. You're going to want to include a brief summary about how your skills and experiences match the job description, all right? For those who were in my resume clinic last week or at another time, you know how important it is to customize your application to the job advertisement, okay? You need to do the same thing here with your cover letter, all right? If they're asking for something, you need to make sure you address that something. Most job advertisements are split into essential skills and things that are called assets, okay? Essential skills or essential qualifications are things that the company absolutely needs you to have, okay? Things, they could be like, let's say you're a truck driver, okay? An essential qualification would be that you have a truck driving license. Otherwise, you're just not gonna get hired, okay? Then they also have assets, okay? And assets are things that are not necessarily, necessary, but they can help you and they can help your job application, all right? So things like, usually an asset is being bilingual, okay? It won't cost you the job, but if somebody shows up and they have that, they might be preferred as the candidate, okay? So it's an asset, it can help you. An asset could be that you have your first aid course, or an asset could be that you are bilingual, like I just said. An asset could be that you have a certain amount of training in IT or programming software, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that you can see it on the second point here. You should respond or address as many items on both sides, okay? Make sure that you're trying, or your cover letter is addressing all the essential skills, okay? Or as many as possible. And the same thing with the assets, okay? It's very clear in the job advertisement that there are assets and essential qualifications, and you should talk about those things directly in your cover letter. So here's an example of the body of a cover letter, okay? I'll put this all together at the end for you so that you can see the overall look of the cover letter. But at this point, we're just going to cover the body. So all I'm saying here is I am a business administration graduate from the University of New Brunswick, receiving my BBA with honors in marketing. I am a fully bilingual individual with a passion for many different forms of digital communication. For the last year and a half, I was employed as a customer service representative at TD Bank. Working in such a fast-paced environment, I was able to take away a large amount of employable skills, okay? Now, as I'm reading this, I'm stating some things and then I'm providing proof, okay? And that is how you write the body of a cover letter. I'm saying things like, where is it here? Right, okay, so I was able to take away a large amount of employable skills, okay? I said that. Now I need to prove it, all right? And I prove it by saying I routinely dealt with hundreds of customers with different backgrounds, dispositions, and needs. This allowed me to learn how to tailor unique, important messages to many different people. So I said something and then I showed how or why that is true, okay? And so what we call that is proof, all right? You state something and you have to prove that you've shown that or you've done that, okay? This whole application is you saying something, and this body here is you proving it, okay? So throughout my university career, I oversaw management of a handful of social media outlets for local companies and worked as a marketing coordinator at this place, okay? So as a digital communications officer, or as a person applying for a digital communications officer position, I need to show them that I have the skills. And so I'm doing that. I'm stating my past experiences, my studies, okay? Anything that will prove to them that I am the right person for the role. Then I put some bullet points here, okay? I say with regards to my ability to meet the specific requirements for this job, my skills include being able to, and then I state those skills, okay? I'll let you read these on your own, but essentially this is just an example. But the idea is that I'm listing everything here, okay? And I'm making it very clear to them what my skills are. All right, so that's the body. That is you sharing your skills. At the end, you're gonna want to have an outro and a call to action, okay? So your resume, or sorry, your cover letter should finish by asking the employer to read your resume. That's what we call a call to action. You're asking them to do something, okay? It can also ask them to contact you for an interview, okay, or to contact you for any additional questions. You're asking them to action your application, and you're just saying, could you please contact me, or could you please take a look at my resume? Please do something about this application, okay? That's what a call to action is. You can try something simple like, I have attached a copy of my resume. I look forward to hearing from you about this job, okay? You're putting it in their hands now. You're saying, I look forward to hearing from you. So you expect them to hear from you, and you're kind of asking them to do that, right? That's the idea. It's intelligently worded so that you're putting the onus on them, and the onus means that it's their responsibility at this point to contact you. All right. This is an example of an outro that I wrote. You will find a more detailed summary of my professional and educational background in my resume that has been attached. I would love the opportunity to meet with you and or any of your recruitment colleagues to speak more in depth about the position. Okay, so this one is not as simple, but it's fine. It's just as good. It's asking them to consider meeting with you with their colleagues. Okay, and then you thank them for your time, and that's that. And you have a signature at the bottom. Okay, if you don't know how to add a signature to your document on Microsoft Word, you can just type your name as well. Okay, but make sure that you sign it if you can. Okay, before I continue, are there any quick questions about the format of a cover letter? Now keep in mind, I will show you what it looks like all together, but I definitely wanted to break these down into pieces so that it's easier to understand. So just let me know if you have any questions. You can type them or ask them, but I will continue and I will stop to answer them if something comes up. So here are things you should not include in your cover letter. All right, there are things that should be kept off, and those things are typos and spelling mistakes. Okay, I've said it before with the resume presentation. The documents that you send in, the application that you submit is like a first impression. Okay, this person's not going to get to meet you yet. They only see a piece of paper. And so your piece of paper is your first impression. If it's full of spelling mistakes and spelling errors and typos, it's not a good first impression, okay? So make sure you double check your work. Give me 1 second, I've got something in the chat here. Looks like a short resume? Maybe, I don't think so. It's a letter. It's very, very, very different from a resume. You don't write your resume in a letter format, okay? You need to pay very, very specific attention to the picture that I'm going to send to you at the end. It's very, very different from a cover letter, from a resume, sorry. This is not a question, but a suggestion. There are lots of apps you can use to copy your signature as a picture image that you can insert into your letter. Yes, exactly. So some people I've seen, what they do is they go to the Paint application. You type in Paint, and you just sign your name, and you can copy just that small picture and add it to your resume as a picture instead of signing. But there is a way to add a signature to your Microsoft Word document. If you don't know how, maybe spend a few minutes researching it on Google, okay? But it's a nice little tool. I had another question here. Why do we need a cover letter together with the resume? You might not have been here when I talked about the differences at the beginning, but the idea is that one, you're addressing the specific person, okay? It's a customary method of applying for a job. It's expected that question is kind of like asking, why do I submit a resume? Okay, it's hard to really answer that question because it's a way of doing things. But the point is that together, they're expected by employers, okay? And they are ultimately different. One is you get the chance to address the employer specifically. Your resume, you don't do that. At the top of your resume, you don't say, hello, John, or hello, Scott, right? So if you were to just send a resume, it's quite informal, right? You're just sending that to everybody. You don't have to address a specific person. Why we send cover letters is to address a specific person, and also so that you can get a chance to expand on what the resume does not cover, okay? If your resume is formatted like a letter, it's not a good resume, okay? You have to have bullet points. You say things like, I worked in this organization for 10 years, or I was able to organize detailed documents for this company. That's it, all right? But your cover letter is your chance to expand on that. I worked 10 years in this organization while doing all these things. I learned all of these great skills. There's my body and my letter format, okay? So at the end, I'll show you the picture of my cover letter example, and you'll see it's nothing like a resume. I think one of the main reasons we do them is to make the application personal, okay? It's a direct letter to somebody. I'll make this this analogy or this metaphor, okay? For some of us in Canada, we send out Christmas letters during our holidays, right? If that's your belief, we send out these letters. Now there's these generic Christmas cards that you can send out. It's just got a picture, and in the inside it just says a little bit of writing, right? Just like any card you would send, a birthday card from Hallmark or whatever, okay? A get well soon card. Some of them are very impersonal, all right? But some of them you have the opportunity to write a specific note to somebody. It's a lot more meaningful that way, okay? So in this example, the resume is the informal Christmas Hallmark card that you receive in the mail, okay? Whereas the cover letter is something extremely specific. It's a letter from your grandmother to you specifically, or from your mother or whoever, a family member, and it's got a story directed to you, okay? That is the difference. One is very impersonal, one is very personal. Together, combined, it makes a good application. And that's my answer. So, do not include your whole resume in your cover letter. We're going back to what you should not do, okay? They're very different. You shouldn't be just copy pasting it. There's no point. You're defeating the purpose in that sense. Make sure you're not using I too much. I'll go over that in a bit. And don't mention other applications to other jobs, okay? So let's break these down. Always spell check your cover letter. It's even better to get someone else to read it and point out any mistakes, okay? That person could be a friend, a family member, a teacher, an employment coach, right? It could be a good idea to get your cover letter and your resumes reviewed by somebody else. Double check everything in your cover letter. If you mention a company's name, make sure you spell it right. If you mention somebody's specific name, make sure you spell it right, because misspelling those things that might be unfamiliar words is not a good first impression. This is self-explanatory. Don't copy paste your resume into your cover letter, okay? That's not the point. You want to write a story, a letter format. Using I too much, okay? Try not to overuse phrases like I believe, I have, I am, okay? It's very difficult, all right? But the application is not necessarily about what you've achieved. It's about what you can show the employer, okay? And what you can offer to them, right? So there's a bit of a difference there. Here's an example. This is the exact same message, the body that I just read. It's the exact same thing as this, okay? I just went through it and I wanted to show you where I used I and where I didn't, okay? So at the beginning, all the ones in red, those are I's, all right? It's very hard to not use I in a letter that you're addressing that covers your background, right? It's very difficult. You'll find it as you write these that it's almost impossible to not include them. I'm not asking you to not use them. I'm asking you to use them as little as possible, okay? So I am writing, I came, I am, I was, okay? I oversaw. Use different methods of saying this, okay? If you look in the first green box, it says, this allowed me to learn how to, okay? I could have said, I learned how to instead, but changing the phrasing changes it up a little bit, okay? It's not just I's everywhere. With regards to my ability to meet the specific requirements, instead of using I have the ability to do this, I changed it up a little bit. The last one here, it would be great to have the opportunity to meet with you. All right. Instead of saying I would like to meet with you, or I would love to meet with you, or whatever, it's better to word it like this in some instances. So have a good mixture of both. All right. Don't use I for everything. Change it up. Being able to not use I is an extremely hard skill, and you learn it over time. It comes with mastering the English language, which of course is difficult. But I just wanted to give you an idea of how to change these, okay, a little bit. Don't mention your, oh, I have a chat here. This person says, I guess there is an ambiguity between a cover letter and a resume for most people. A resume contains your occupational, educational experiences and competencies, but doesn't contain what you have wanted or demanded from the employer. And a cover letter states who you are and what you want. Yeah, that's a good way of saying that, of course. Yeah, for sure. It's your resume is such a brief depiction of such a large amount of information that you can't be personal with it. It's impossible to be to explain yourself the way you want to. Okay, you have 10 different jobs in your resume. You can only explain them so much. Okay, your cover letter allows you to expand on that specifically for the job that you're applying for. Okay, you're going to want to pick bits and pieces of your resume and expand on the few things that you mentioned in a lot more detail. Thank you for sharing. Next point is don't mention your other job applications. Okay, I've actually seen this happen. In some form or another, people think it's okay to mention another job application. Okay, the point is, if you're applying for a job, the reader will want to know that you're interested in their job only. Okay, now they're not dumb. They probably know you're applying to more than one job, but you don't need to tell them that. Okay, you need to let them think that you're solely interested in them. All right, that they're the only employer that matters. Mentioning other jobs, like saying at the end, I have applied to this other job here and I'm waiting for their reply as well. Look forward to hearing from you. That you're just going to lose the opportunity of ever hearing from them again. Okay. We're nearing the end here. All right. But there's only so much that I can share. I want you to know that these are cover letter basics. Okay. But writing a cover letter is in its own way a science. Okay. People are cover letter experts. This is what they do. They help people develop cover letters. That's their job. That's their whole world, right? It's a science, and it can be extremely complex. I don't want to get into that because it can be very boring, for one, to listen to. But also, I don't want to confuse anybody. We might be at different levels of understanding what a cover letter is. So I want to share absolutely the basics, but I also want to give you a chance to read up on additional literature and additional tips if you're really interested in learning more and how to really make a good resume. So I'm sharing this with you. This is an article written in 2014, okay, from the Harvard Business Review. Harvard Business Review is a fantastic article producing organization. I have for years read their magazines on business development and business insights, business news. Okay, they're a very well-respected organization when it comes to anything business related. And then for this, they're sharing how to write a cover letter. Okay, I like this one because it cut to the things that are a bit more complex, that are not the basics, but still shared some really important key information. Okay, now this is the article. Again, I would suggest researching it if you're interested. All you have to do is type in how to write a cover letter, HBR, or Harvard Business Review, and you'll find it. For those who don't want to read it, that's fine. I will cover the highlights of the article here, okay? Just the things that I thought were important. So the very first point, and this is where I'm going to answer your question, Misha, finally. The first point here says what the experts say. Not sending a cover letter is a sign of laziness, okay? It's akin or the same to making a spelling mistake or grammar mistake in your resume. You just don't do it, all right? Thank you, Andrea. Andrea has been kind enough to share the link in the chat. So if you want to click that and save it or copy paste it and look it up, please feel free to do so. All right. So not sending a cover letter is is a sign of laziness. It's akin to making a spelling mistake, grammar mistake, etc. And what they're saying here is, you know, there's a lot of employers who will get job applications and people will not submit a cover letter and they will think it's laziness, okay? Because in a sense, it kind of is. A lot of people, they'll say, oh, this is just another document I have to submit. It's time consuming. I don't want to do this. It's not necessary. You know, at the end of the day, the extra 20 to 25 minutes that it took you to write a cover letter or to edit a cover letter could be the difference between you getting an interview and not getting an interview. All right, it's really that simple. There are some expectations. I'm sharing with you what you should do. It's up to you to do those things or not, but it really could make a difference in the future. The next point is open strong. All right, here it reads, people typically write themselves into the letter with, I'm applying for this job that I saw in this place or from this place, okay? I'll show you a great example. Look at this. I am writing to you today to express my interest in this job that I got from this place. See, even I did it, okay? Because it's a format. It's a good way of doing things. It's not a wrong way. It's just that if you want to be a bit different, you might want to consider doing something different, okay? So all it says here is people typically do this. They don't say it's wrong, but they say that if you want to open a bit stronger, you might want to start with a punchline. Okay, and a punchline might be something like, I'm an environmental fundraising professional with more than 15 years of experience, and I'd love to bring my expertise and enthusiasm to your growing development team. Wow, that's a big punchline, right? That hits a bit different. As the reader's reading that, they're thinking, oh, okay, I could probably use this person. So this is one of those more complex details. If you think you can do this, if you're good at writing, you might want to open strong instead of following what everybody else does, all right? But again, keep in mind, I'm just sharing the basics. The basics will work, but if you want to learn a bit more about this, it really can make a difference. Your third point here is convey enthusiasm, okay? Make it clear why you want the position. They say here, in today's economy, a lot of people have the right skills, so employers want to know who really wants the job, okay? That's really important. Nowadays, if you're applying for an administrative position, there's a lot of people who have the right skills for that job, all right? At that point, the employer is looking for somebody who really wants the job. They don't so much care about the experience or the expertise anymore because most people can do that job. They're looking for somebody who really wants it, okay? So maybe sharing a bit of enthusiasm can really help you, okay? I showed you an example earlier, and I'll just cover what it says. At the bottom, it says, adding something like, I'd love to work for your company shows enthusiasm, okay? Now, I wrote this here. Where is it? Right here at the bottom. You will find a detailed resume that has been attached. I would love the opportunity to meet with you and or any of your recruitment colleagues, right? There you go. A bit of enthusiasm can really make a difference. This person just said they'd love to work with me. That's awesome. Maybe I'll give them a chance, right? It's not that black and white. There's gray area. Nothing's always that easy, but it really can help. And then, as I said earlier, and as they stated, do some research, okay, beyond reading the job description. Doing a bit of research on the organization or the company can really help you apply. All right, because knowing what the company needs, knowing the challenges that the company is going through, can really help you customize your resume so that you're addressing those needs, and then you're wowing them, you're impressing them with what you know. Okay. Yeah, here at the bottom it says, knowing the company better also helps you decide on the right tone to use in your cover letter, right? Maybe their work culture can help you write it differently. There's different ways of writing a letter. Maybe you want to be to the point because they're a very to the point company, or maybe you want to share a bit of humor, okay? Getting to know the company can really help you formulate a good cover letter. I have 2 questions here. Do we have obligations to send cover letter with resume, or we have sent cover letter if they ask for? Okay, yeah, I see the question. So essentially, should you send the cover letter with the resume every time is what you're asking. The answer is yes, okay? It, it's not going to guarantee you the job, but it will help. And that's important to note in this, okay? Nothing is necessary, or there's no real right way of doing any of these things. All right, I'm just sharing with you what works best. So the answer is no, it's not necessary to send your resume with your cover letter at the same time, but doing so can really help you, okay? So my recommendation is that you do. And also the experts also say that it's something you should do, right? Because most employers see it as a bit of laziness if you don't. My suggestion to you is test it. Test it. See what does get you replies or asks or for gets you a reply for an interview. All right. You might just find that you get more replies for an interview if you do send your cover letter. All right. That would be my guess. Okay. As promised, here is the cover letter all together. Okay. All I did was take little pictures of the individual pieces, but here is the cover letter in total. It's no longer than 1 page. At the top, I have my contact information and the contact information of the person I'm applying with. I have the date. I have my introduction. I have stated that I'm applying for the digital communications officer position. Then I have my body. I share all about my specific job experience. Okay, that is relevant to the advertisement. All right, and then I have my outro and my call to action. I have my sign out and my thanking for their time, as well as my signature. And this is what a cover letter should look like. Okay, this is entirely different than a resume in that I am speaking to somebody directly instead of just talking about my past skills openly and just to anybody, right? This is directed to Nicole. I have written a letter to Nicole specifically, told her why I would be good for the job, and then I ask her specifically to contact me if possible, okay? That's why it's so important to find the person's name, because without that, again, you're just addressing it openly to somebody. Here are my references for where I found a lot of this information. A lot of it is from my own experience as well. But that is the end of this. I have one last question, and then I'm going to open it up to everybody. When emailing an employer, should the resume and cover letter be 2 files or 1 file together? Great question, Misha. The answer is 2 files, okay? You'll want to separate those things. And the answer, the reason why that's the answer is that it also makes it easier for you to apply and use variations of your documents to other places, okay? If you have 1 document, it's harder to edit those things together. You can use similar versions of your cover letter and apply to a different job if you have it in different files. So always send them in different files. It doesn't make it any different. I have only ever seen once an employer ask them to be in the same file, okay? So 1 PDF. I don't know why, but it's very rare that you're going to be asked to do that. So 2 separate files, 1 for your resume, 1 for your cover letter. You can have additional files as well if you want that could show your transcripts from your school or whatever, but only if you're asked to. All right, the main important pieces here are your cover letter and your resume. So there are your answers for your questions. Are there any other questions at all about how to write a cover letter? I will absolutely take the time to answer them. Please let me know. You can either type them in the chat like you have been or ask me directly. Can you give us a text example to send the two files? Can you elaborate on that question? I don't really know what you mean by a text example. Because this is a text example. Well, this is an example with text for a cover letter. And last week, I gave you many examples of a resume. Oh, okay. You mean what to include in the email that you're sending? What you would say in the email, additional to the documents that you're sending? Okay. Good question. I don't. Let's see here. I don't think I have. Give me one moment. I'm going to look at old emails between employers and myself. If I can find something, I will share it with you on the screen because it doesn't matter to me. I just can't share any information from other clients, of course. So if I have something for other clients, I won't be able to show you an example, but I will see if I have something to show you. Oh, that perfect. I do. Okay, give me a second. I will share this with you. Okay, can you see my screen right now? It's emails. Are you able to see my email screen? Okay, super. So you see here, it says cover letter for this digital marketing position, and then my resume. Okay, there are two separate files. And all it says below is, good afternoon. Attached, you will find a copy of my CV and cover letter. Please feel free to contact me by using the email address or any of the methods listed below, which would be here. Thank you in advance for your time. So it's a very quick message asking them to contact you or where you're going to be able to find information, which is above. Okay, you don't want the email to be a replacement of your cover letter or your resume. Okay, you're just sending the message and telling them that they can access the documents. Okay, at the top here, you'll see that it's I've written the digital marketing manager application. All right, this is important to note because this needs to absolutely be in the what do you call that? The subject line. Okay, the application, the name of the job you want to apply for should be in the application or the subject headline. All right, and then you just write your little message, whatever it is, referring to your cover letter and your resume. All right. So that's how you would do that. Good question. I'm glad I was able to find something for you. I feel like that was pretty old, so I'm surprised it's still in my mailbox, but there you go. That's what that is. All right. So, one second. Yeah, that's right. If you have the name, you can definitely write it. Give me one sec here. Yeah. Yeah. So for this one, info@thecabindepot.com. I did not have. Sorry, I did have a name. I put it in the cover letter, but not in the message. You can include them in both, as long as it's included in one of them, and it should be your cover letter. Okay. But yeah, if you want to not address a specific person in the email, that's okay. I would suggest you do, but it absolutely has to be in your cover letter. 1 second, I have, okay, that one's good. To answer your question, Lex, she says that, or he or she, I'm not sure, sorry, the email content could be the cover letter. So no, you don't want to do that, all right? You want to keep it as a document separate. You should have your cover letter and your resume as 2 separate documents, and then the email is just you referring to them. Stephen, do I need to upload a cover letter if I apply online for positions such as Indeed? Yeah, you should. Most of these online applications websites will allow you to attach more than one document, okay? So of course, if you have, I think Indeed, you have your profile where you can upload your own resume and save it on the website so that you can send it to multiple places. You can also do that for your cover letter, okay? So make sure you have both uploaded there. And if you're applying for a specific job online, you can usually, like I said, attach more than one document. One of them should be for your resume. One of them should be for your cover letter. Good question, Stephen. Thank you. Good. I'm glad, Lex. Are there any other questions? These questions have been great. I'm having to go and dig for older information, which is always nice. So let me know if you have any other questions. I'll wait another couple minutes. Okay. I have something here. I have used the information supposed to be in the cover letter in the body of the email and only attached the resume. Is that okay? Well, yeah, I suggest that for the future, you try to include it as a separate attachment, okay? But if you've already sent it in the past and you know, it's too late to change, that's okay. It's fine. I understand that it's very similar in a sense, but your platform for your email is not supposed to be meant to replace the cover letter, okay? They should be separate. The idea is that what's expected is that separate document, okay? That's just the way we do things around here. It might not seem like it's the most efficient way of doing things or the quickest way, but it is a custom that we've been doing for a very long time. And until that changes, then this is the format that we should follow, okay? And I don't think it has or will change. It's just what's expected. So if you've done it that way, that's okay. Not the end of the world. The employer will still get the information, but they would have probably preferred you to send it as a different attachment, okay? Thanks for that question. It seems as though the questions have come to a halt, so I will end it there. I really hope that this was an informative presentation and that you learned something. Like always, if you have any questions, contact me on Facebook is probably the best way because I am near the computer all the time, and I am on the Multicultural Association Employment Services Facebook all day. So if you want to send me a Facebook message, you'll find my name there. And yeah, if you want to, if you don't already follow us on the Multicultural Association Employment Services Facebook page, please do. There are so many great pieces of information and presentations from other people and job opportunities. So yeah, can you please send us again your email address? Yeah, sure. I think the best thing I can do is if I don't know which class you belong to specifically, but if one of the teachers, you could send Tanya this, my email address, that'd be probably the easiest way instead of me trying to find it. Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate that. And then, yeah, you can just send me a message that way. All right. Actually, I don't know what I was thinking. Oh, 1 sec. There we go. I don't know why I overcomplicated that. This is my email address. So yes, thank you everybody for coming today. Thank you for spending over an hour with me and listening to me. So next week we'll be back with a different topic. I don't exactly know which one it is. I'll have to review that, but same time, same place, different topic, and it'll be building off of what we learned today. All right. So again, thank you and have a wonderful weekend, because I don't think I'll be seeing you again. And enjoy the warm weather. Try to stay cool. All right. Take care.